Our nightmare kicks off in 1957, in the majestic, snowy Rocky Mountains of Colorado. We meet Hope, a young counselor, answering a seriously mysterious call at Alpine Lake, a remote juvenile camp. She's having super weird dreams. 7 strange numbers are burned into her memory. She nervously mentions the phone is local, no area code, and asks if the caller is also in Colorado. Still silence. She adds, the numbers are written on the ice. No answer. She hangs up, totally freaked out. Rookie mistake, Hope. Now, it's 1982, North Denver. We're watching a brawl, and the winner is Finny. His sister, Gwen, rushes up, part proud, part annoyed. Seriously, why'd you hit that guy? Finny snaps back. The new guy called him brave for killing the serial killer, and that just sent him over the edge. Suddenly, Ernesto shows up, congratulates Finny on the beating, and immediately asks Gwen out on a date to a show. When Ernesto leaves, Finny glares, saying that was obviously a date. Gwen laughs, defending Ernesto as a good guy, and reminds Finny that Ernesto's late brother, Robin, asked Finny to look out for him. The least she can do is be nice. Later, Finny is saying goodbye to his dad, lost in his head. The memories of the black phone's mask, the raptor, start tormenting him again. Suddenly, there he is, right in front of him, terrifyingly real.
If you try to touch me, I'll scratch your face.
Gwen appears, and the raptor vanishes. She asks if he's okay, but Finny, looking totally lost, says he can't talk. He tells her she just can't understand what he's feeling. Gwen, with tender determination, assures him she'll always be right there. We cut to snowy mountains. A child runs through dark caves, slips, and falls. A figure appears, stabbing him with a knife, mercilessly giving him multiple cuts until he dies. But before his spirit crosses over, he appears under icy, clear water, slowly drawing a double V on the ice before disappearing. It was just a dream. Gwen bolts awake, heart pounding. She hears a phone ringing nonstop. She walks to answer, but realizes it's not her phone. She opens the door. No one is there. Her brother, Finny, arrives, completely frozen, telling her he got up soundly. Gwen tries to tell him about the nightmare. He ignores her, tells her to go back to bed, and leaves. The next morning at school, kids are being bullies, calling Gwen a witch. Ernesto, the Duran Duran ticket guy, appears. He's clearly into her and nervously mentions her interest in the paranormal. Gwen playfully leans into it, telling him she loves ghosts and firmly believes in life after death. Ernesto pulls out a small tarot-like deck, asking if she reads cards, since he heard her dreams predict the future. Gwen is stunned. I've never told anyone that. Ernesto confesses his parents told him the police got an anonymous call from Gwen's dream knowledge, pointing them to Robin's body. Gwen is uncomfortable and changes the subject. Then, a guy named Phoenix leaves a store. A public street phone rings. Out of curiosity, he answers and just says, I can't help you, before hanging up. But the phone was obviously out of service. And we're back in the mountains. Another child runs desperately until a mysterious man catches him. He brutally beats him and burns him alive. In the vision, the child draws the letter B under the water before vanishing. Gwen wakes up, terrified. The phone rings again, but she ignores it, walking cautiously into the forest where she sees the child's calcified remains in the fog. She accidentally steps in blood. Determined, she keeps going, jumps a wall, and looks into a gloomy house with a heavy basement echo. Gwen creeps down the stairs. The phone rings right there. She feels drawn to it and finally answers. On the other end is Hope, the same scene from the start, calling from Alpine Lake about her 7 numbers. Gwen, shocked, says she has the same dreams, but with letters and trapped kids. Hope falls silent, then hangs up. Behind Gwen, a guy with an axe in his head appears. The door bursts open, and Finny walks in. Gwen tells him she spoke to her mother, who called her from the camp. Finny, still skeptical, tells her to stop thinking about it. But as they leave, Finny sees a message written in dry blood on the wall. The raptor burns in hell. Gwen investigates and finds info on the Christian camp. Their dad, Terrence, arrives. He confirms their mother worked there before they met, but the religious camp closed long ago. He refuses to get involved. When Ernesto arrives to drive Gwen, Finny stops them, announcing he's going too. The 3 start the snowy journey. The fog is so thick Finny runs in front of the car to guide them. Hopefully he has good health insurance. A woman named Mustang appears on horseback. She guides the lost counselors to Armando, the other staff member. They explain the roads are closed, the camp is canceled due to the storm, and they're completely trapped. Mustang tries to calm the tense situation, assigns them separate rooms, men and women separate, camp rules, and quietly tells Gwen her cabin is close. That night, Gwen has another nightmare. Outside, Finny is by a bonfire, smoking, when he hears a phone ringing in the cabin. Gwen also hears the strange sound. Finny answers, annoyed, yelling he won't help anyone, and hangs up. It rings again. Meanwhile, Gwen hears noises under her, crouches down, and sees the pale body of a dead child. Back with Finny, the phone whispers, "Hello, Finny." The door slams shut. Gwen is bombarded by visions of dead children. Finny manages to flee, hears Gwen screaming, and runs to hug her until she calms down. Later, Gwen confesses her latest nightmare to Ernesto and asks him to sleep in her room, just for safety. While he sleeps, she stays awake, whispering a prayer to God not to let her dream again. Ernesto wakes up, saying he heard her pray, and finds it sexy that she asks Jesus for things. Gwen smiles, saying her mom was also Christian, but the nightmares drove her crazy. She fears the same thing and says she thinks of her mother constantly. Ernesto looks at her tenderly, calls her beautiful, just as they lean in for a kiss. Finny bursts in. Gwen, tired of secrets, has told Ernesto everything. The calls, the dreams, the visions. Finny is angry she didn't trust him, but Gwen says she had no one else. At breakfast, Armando asks why they're really there. They confess, they're here for their mother. They show a photo, and Armando immediately recognizes Starlight, a woman full of light. Finny mentions the broken phone rang again. The bell rings. Finny answers and hears the trembling voice of a cold, lost girl. Then, 3 children's voices are heard, and the camera shows them standing outside, motionless. Finny realizes they are dead and asks how to help. They only say he must find him. Meanwhile, their father, Terrence, sees the news. Roads are blocked. He calls his friend, determined to plow his way to them. Back at camp, Gwen asks Barbara, the office manager, about the old rumors. Barbara scolds her severely. They should only think about God, not horror stories. She harshly reprimands Gwen, implying she should be punished for sleeping with men. That night, Gwen dreams again. She sees Hope Adler calling from the phone booth, murmuring the numbers are written on the lake ice. The images warp, dismembered bodies, the lost children's faces. Gwen wakes up screaming. The door slams shut. Finny hears the phone ringing and wakes Ernesto. Gwen follows the spectral children to an old wooden door. Finny approaches the phone. Ernesto tells him to leave it. Finny decides to answer, but asks Ernesto to check on Gwen. Gwen ignores her brother and follows the children. Finny answers. A familiar voice haunts him. It's the masked man. Took you long enough, he says, but at last you remembered. Finny, terrified, says,
You're dead.
The raptor laughs. Dead is just a word. Ernesto can't find Gwen. The raptor attacks Gwen with fury, throwing her against walls and lifting her with an invisible force. Counselors run, only seeing Gwen abruptly fall, her attacker gone. Ernesto tries to help, and Finny walks in just as the raptor vanishes. Gwen looks at him, horrified. Everyone gathers, unable to deny the paranormal forces. Gwen describes her dreams. Felix in a yellow parka, a boy in a white parka, and Calvin, who was burned alive. Armando confirms Calvin's remains were found, but not his body. Finny mentions the raptor. Armando says the camp owner closed the place after 2 children disappeared. The owner searched every winter, and Armando bought the camp to continue the mission. He believes Gwen is the messenger, the only one who can free the trapped souls. Finny finds a photo of the raptor. Armando says it's Bell, a former camp member. The letters in Gwen's dreams spell out his name. Bell was a violent man who used the frozen lake for hockey games. Gwen concludes the bodies must be trapped under the lake. Mustang realizes that if they find the bodies and give them rest, they agree to go to the lake at dawn. They resume the search, but can't find the other 2 boys. Exhausted, Gwen lies down, seemingly falling asleep, but she did it on purpose. In the dream, she faces the raptor again. The monster appears on the lake, unleashing chaos. Gwen falls into the icy water and sees the children trapped beneath. Desperately, she pulls them out one by one. Her father jumps in to help, while the raptor attacks Finny on the shore. Ernesto pulls Gwen's unconscious body out. Gwen, in her astral form, challenges the raptor. The raptor says she's alone, but Gwen says, "No, I'm not." Finny approaches, fearlessly telling him, "In hell there are no flames, only ice." They both push him into the frozen lake. Gwen wakes up, relieved, in Ernesto's arms and kisses him. Outside, they celebrate. The evil is gone. Armando calls the parents. The boys have been found. As Finny and Gwen prepare to leave, the phone rings one last time. Only Gwen hears it. She answers. It's her mother's voice. She says she's in a beautiful, peaceful place. Thanks Gwen for freeing the children, and assures her the curse was a gift. She asks her to tell Finny she loves him, and that Robin sends greetings. The line cuts slowly. Gwen, silent and tearful, tells her brother everything. Terrence hugs them both. They drive away as the sunrise reflects on the ice. The lake is finally calm. And that's how the story ends. If you liked the video, remember to hit that like button and subscribe. Thanks to watch the complete video and recommends any movie you want to see soon. Put in the comments on the video if you like it.